Good morning, and welcome to Redeemer Lutheran Church. I'm Pastor Gary Lodeholt. This week we've been talking about the feelings the pandemic has brought forth in us, and we've hoped to look at some Psalms of Lament to see how they express the feelings we are feeling and how they point to the hope we have in God. And indeed, the pandemic was bad, and we learned a lot about social isolation and wearing masks. And then, just when things seemed to be getting better, and not long after we reopened for in-person worship again, things got bad again, and then they got worse. Just as we were venturing out, now we can't again. And now we can't gather for in-person worship either. Again. And perhaps that one word, again, makes it all seem so hard right now. We were tired of it the first time around, and now we've got to go back to it again. There's hope with the vaccine, yes, but that's not an overnight fix. Nevertheless, we thank God for the knowledge and skill God gave to the scientists and doctors, which has brought us to this point. Psalm 10 takes our discussion in a bit of a new direction. Psalm 10 is a long psalm, so once again, I'm not going to read all of it, but I do want us to look particularly at the very first verse. Why, O Lord, do you stand far off? Why do you hide yourself in times of trouble? As a pastor, I often share difficult moments with people, times of sorrow or death or illness. Those times when life is in crisis or life is difficult. And sometimes in the midst of what those people are going through, on occasion they might look at me and say, "Where is God?" As we talk further, they tell me that they look around for God but cannot find God, and they are confused because this is the time when they most need God. So I've had a lot of opportunity to think about this. And I am convinced that the fact that they cannot find God does not mean that God has forsaken them. Rather, it seems to me that when we are facing troubles like this, our eyes are so full of our own troubles and difficulties that we can't look beyond them to see that God is there with us, upholding, strengthening, and helping us. And it seems to me that the psalmist was having this same trouble. Why do you stand far off? The psalmist asked God. But the truth is that God is not far off, especially in the midst of our troubles. God does not hide himself. Rather, God heals, God redeems, God saves. But so often our eyes are so full of ourselves and our troubles that trouble is all we can see. The psalmist knew this too. In verse 14, the psalmist writes, "But you do see, indeed you note trouble and grief, that you may take it into your hands." And what a comfort and assurance that is, that God is there, and that God does take our troubles in hand and brings us to wholeness. Then the psalmist goes on saying, "The helpless commit themselves to you." It may seem like we are helpless, but we have God on our side, and our path into the future lies with God. Finally, listen to how the psalm ends. O Lord, you will hear the desire of the meek. You will strengthen their heart. You will incline your ear to do justice for the orphan and the oppressed, so that those from earth may strike terror no more. In the face of our worries, fears, and troubles, may our hearts be strengthened, knowing that nothing, not even a virus, can strike terror anymore. For we belong to God. Thanks for watching, and remember to let this day belong to God.